Panthers Saints recap and review, ladies and gentlemen. It is the morning after the day before. We are recording early to get you this recap and review. Let's start with the positives, shall we? We won the game. Okay, now let's move on to the negatives. So this was offensively one of the most inept total games I've ever watched in the NFL. I was there in the dome. I was in that number, as some would say. I felt like I was in a Saw game. I felt like I was in the middle of the movie Saw. I thought Jigsaw was going to roll up on his unicycle and tell me that I had to finish the game in order to survive. I felt like I was in the middle of Fear Factor or something watching this game. If you look at the stats, it shows that. I mean, let's just look at this. My God. Total plays. So we break down the box scores every single week. And I'll go ahead and tell you, this is as false of a finish, as false of a result as I've seen in a long time. Total plays, they had 79, we had 52. Total yards, they had almost 100. This team scored 6 points. The quarterback had 2 completions in the first half, at halftime. I had 2 less completions than Bryce Young did at halftime. And I was hungover as hell with eating 2 sets of nachos. All right, there's no reason I should have had almost the same amount of completions as Bryce Young. So they have almost 100 more yards than us. Yards per play about the same. If we look at rushing, 204 yards rushing. Again, this team scored 6 points. They averaged 5.2 yards a rush. We had 97 yards rushing and averaged 3.9 yards a rush. Turnovers, they had 2 turnovers. We had 1, so +1 in the turnover margin. Defensive special team touchdown. They had the ball for almost 10 more minutes. If you look at just this box score, the Panthers should have won the game. The fact that they lost by 22, the fact that if you look at just the numbers here, and you told me that the team on the right of these stats, if they won, I would think, okay, they probably won 10 to 7. It was still close. I would be able to see by the yardage and all that stuff. I'd be able to see by the yards per play that there's probably not much happening in the game, especially if you look at the first downs and stuff. So I would have said, okay, maybe the defensive special teams touchdown, made it 10 to 7. The fact that Carolina lost by 22 is absolutely insane. This is a bad look for the Saints. I mean, I'll go ahead and tell you that right now. If Carolina wanted to, they probably could have won the game by just running the football every play. If they would have went to a straight-up junior high school offense and just ran the ball and just sat Bryce Young, just said, don't worry about it, Bryce, don't throw. We're just going to run 1945 style football, they might have won this game because the Saints were not stopping this running attack, this daunted running attack of Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders. All right. Now let's go to the box score. My God. Okay, so Derek Carr, abysmal, horrific. And remember, he had 1 pass to A.T. Perry for 44 yards, which A.T. Perry had to dive to catch. So take 44 yards off of this. Derek Carr is sitting there at what? 80 yards passing? 80 yards passing on 17 completions if you take out the A.T. Perry. Bryce Young was this probably, in the grand scheme of things, with no weather impacting the game. I mean, this is perfect conditions. They're inside of a dome. No weather impacting the game. This might be the worst game a quarterback's ever played or ever looked. I tweeted this out, but I mean, you can just tell physically Bryce Young doesn't have it. You can tell physically that Bryce Young does not have what it takes to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, much less a number 1 overall pick. I personally would rather have Mac Jones. I would rather have Trey Lance. I might rather have Zach Wilson than Bryce Young. I for sure would rather have Justin Fields. So, I mean, Carolina's in a terrible situation. I also don't really understand why Carolina had a lot of weird. They were kind of doing the same thing the Saints have done all season long. Like if you look at, so let's look at the whole thing here. All right, so they have turnover on downs, right? It's 4th and 2. And remember, they're running the ball for 5 yards a carry. They are running it down our throat. 4th and 1, they go deep to DJ Chark. Weird situation there to not run it, right? So then they have another turnover on downs. Oh, this is before the half. They have another one down here, turnover on down. Same situation, right? 4th and 1, and they throw the ball. So back to back, might be 3 in a row. All right, this is 4th and 10, and then this one is 4th and 30. So back to back, when the game is still tight. I mean, at this point, it's a one possession game. When the game is still tight, they go 4th and 1 pass, 4th and 1 pass, with a quarterback who had 2 completions at halftime and a team running the ball for over 5 yards a carry. Derek Carr was bad, but the offense again, guys, it's so confusing on what we're doing. And this is the main thing I want to talk about schematically, because in our preview, we talked about that, the Panthers really didn't matter, and the game itself didn't really matter because of how bad Carolina is. And we predicted 24-10, so we were pretty close. And we talked about how you can backdoor your way into a win against Carolina because they're so listless. And boy, I'll tell you what, we absolutely did. This is the definition of backing yourself into a win. But what I really want to talk about here is the same issue with the Saints. I don't understand the personnel swap. I'm kind of over having 5 people run out every play and 5 new people come on every play. And I did the research, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to really break this down. Early morning, I did the research for all of you. Why is Alvin Kamara getting 12 carries and Jamal Williams getting 11? Why are we splitting carries? Alvin Kamara is running the ball from his 5 yards a carry. Jamal's running for 3.9. This is a close game throughout. I mean, at this point right here, when they turn the ball over on downs, this is in the 4th quarter. This is with 8 minutes left in the 4th quarter. It is a 1-possession game. So it's not like you can't say, oh, well, we don't want Alvin to have the wear and tear. We're trying to save his legs. The season's on the line. It's a tight divisional game at home. You have to win this game. Get the ball to your best player. I don't understand this. And it happens way more than any other team. Way more. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. So let's take a look at the San Francisco 49ers. So this is snap count. Okay. This is the percentage of the snaps that players are on the field. That's what we're looking at. Christian McCaffrey, week 14, 89% of the snaps he's on the field. 88% of the snaps in week 13. You can see it, obviously, 77%, 87, 76, 97, 158, 73, go on, so on and so forth. Look at Brandon Ayuk, 91% of the snaps, 86% of the snaps, 89% of the snaps. All right, George Kittle, 93, 100. Let's go look at somebody else. Let's look at the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, Jamar Chase, 87% of the snaps. Okay, let's look at the, who else? Let's go to, how about Tennessee? Tennessee Titans. All right, so if you look at DeAndre Hopkins, 76% of the snaps, right? If he's healthy, he's out there. 83% of the snaps, 87, 79. Okay. Let's look at, how about, who else? Who's another good team? I want to try and find, let's see. I want to try and find a team that's similar to the Saints. Dallas Cowboys, Tony Pollard, 72%. CeeDee Lamb, 89%. The moral of the story is that good teams, good offenses, whatever, they make sure their best players are on the field. And every single week, I'm sitting here talking about how why aren't our best players on the field? Look at this. Alvin Kamara in this game, 54% of the time he's on the field. Over almost half of the offensive snaps, our best player is not on the field. Chris Olave, 65% of the snaps in week 14. 65%. Think about it. Think about this. Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill is out. Kendra Miller is out. Chris Olave. Michael Thomas is out. Rashid Shaheed is out. How are we that injury riddled and our best players are only on the field for about half of our offensive plays? How's that possible? That doesn't make any sense to me. This is exactly what I'm talking about. The highest snap count of anybody is Lynn Bowden. And tight ends, by the way, tight ends get a little weird because they also are in for pass blocking or run blocking, pass blocking, so their snap counts can be a little funky. But Lynn Bowden is our highest snap count player at 77% for the playmakers. Why is Alvin Kamara not the same as someone like Christian McCaffrey? I mean, look at like the Bears, okay? DJ Moore, 92% of the time. DJ Moore is easily their best receiver. He's on the field for 92% of the snaps. What about the Texans? The Texans have been really good this year, right? What about their top two receivers? Let's go to when they weren't hurt. So you have Nico Collins, 77%, Tank Dell, 80%, 77, 76, 79, 85. Why? Because they're the best players. Like this is not difficult to have your best players on the field a majority of your time of your plays for success. Why don't we do that? There is no reason with Derek Carr struggling, with Derek Carr injured, with Taysom Hill out, with Michael Thomas and Rashid Shaheed out, running the ball for 5 yards a carry. There's no reason Alvin Kamara should be splitting time with Jamal Williams. If you watch this game, Jamal Williams is our starting running back. He ran the ball on first down. He ran the ball on third down. He ran the ball on the goal line. He ran the ball in the red zone. He ran the ball on a short yardage. He's in. Jamal Williams is the starting running back of this team. How's that possible? I don't understand it. So, moving forward, I would say this was a pretty awful performance. Again, we got the win. Cool. The season is still exists. But the fact that we played a team as bad as Carolina, who had 2 passing completions in 2023, we had a game where the quarterback had 2 completions at halftime, and it was a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter. They were down by 8 in the fourth quarter. That's not good. That's not good enough. All right? I know a lot of people are going to say, James, come on, brother. We won the game. It's a positive thing. You know, let's not, no need to be negative. Know that we do need to be negative. This was terrible. And I'll tell you from sitting in the stands, and a lot of people, I think, like to hear what it's like because they're watching the game. But what it's like in the stands? What's the feeling? What's all that? It's pure apathy. I'll tell you that. It's pure apathy. Word of the day. People booed for sure. People booed throughout the game. They booed some of the possessions. They booed, Carr for just being horrific. But a lot of it was people just sitting around. A lot of it was people. It was a 1-possession game with the season on the line against a divisional opponent in the fourth quarter. And it was very quiet. No one was standing up. Nobody was going crazy on third downs. It was 4th and 1. I remember sitting there, and we talked about this, me and the people in my area. It was 4th and 1, one of those ones we just talked about. It was 4th and 1. We were up 8. So 1 possession, 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter, season on the line. Bryce Young threw the incompletion. It was a turnover on downs. And everyone in my area looked around and was like, oh, that was 4th down. We didn't even realize it. We didn't even realize it because everyone's so checked out. They are, last week against the Lions, there was a lot of cheering, booing, passion, whatever. I think the fan base is just tired. I really do. I think they're tired of this team. They're tired of Derek Carr. They're tired of these offensive performances. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we had 207 total yards. We had 97 yards rushing. And we should have had 70 yards passing if you take away the 44-yard completion. 70 yards passing and 97 yards rushing at home after 5 weeks of just being terrible. We had 14 first downs. Carolina had more first downs than us, and they completed 2 passes in the first 2 quarters. This ain't it. And y'all know that. You know, this isn't breaking news here. Y'all know that. I know that. The question is, moving forward, what do we do? I feel worse coming out of this game than coming out of Detroit. Detroit, even though the result wasn't there, we talked about it, offensively we were doing some things. And if you say, oh, well, Derek Carr was hurt. Okay, well, he shouldn't have played. If this is how hurt he was, to where he had 70 yards passing, to where he had what did he finish with? A 32 QBR, where he had averaged 4.6. If that's how hurt he was, he shouldn't have played the game. Play Jameis. So that's not an excuse. You know, it's not an excuse because he didn't have to play. So, you know, I didn't feel good about coming out of this. I don't understand the personnel. I don't understand the personnel swapping. I don't understand why our best players aren't on the field. I don't understand. Pete Carmichael is so under fire, and he's not doing well as a play caller. So I don't know why he's making it harder for himself and doing this like weird snap count where he's splitting carries, splitting time with Jamal and Alvin. And then he's rotating his wide receivers. I mean, look at like Keith Kirkwood was on the field. This is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Keith Kirkwood was on the field for 5 less plays than Alvin Kamara. Kamara was on the field for 28 plays, and Keith Kirkwood was on the field for 23. Why? Why is it why? That's the A.T. Perry on the field for 4 more plays than Alvin. It's hard to be successful. It's hard to be consistent when even your personnel isn't consistent. You know, it's hard to have an identity when this is what's going on. If you look at the Texans, you can see their identity, right? You can see, okay, you can see like each game, like, okay, who's doing the most? Who are they kind of leaning on? What are they doing? Like, you can tell, okay, you know, they kind of split carries here with the running backs. Okay, you know, you can tell which receivers they're kind of targeting. You see what's happening. Same with San Francisco. Look at Frisco, and think about how deep San Francisco is. But look how consistent their snap counts are. You know, you can obviously tell Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey. That's who they're running the offense through. George Kittle, 93%, 93, 100, 97. It's not hard to see. Who's their 4th receiver? Let's see. You got Ayuk, Samuel, Jennings. I guess Jennings and Conley. They're on the field for 33% and 15% in week 14. They're not going crazy. They're not doing everything they can to get Willie Snead snaps. They're not doing everything they can to get Ronnie Bell snaps and Ray McLeod snaps. They're doing what works. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. They're not doing this where Keith Kirkwood is getting 44% of the snaps. Like, can you imagine Michael Thomas and Rashid Shaheed were on here? It'd be a mess. Pete Carmichael is doing everything he can to get every single player on the roster snaps. Adam Prentice was on the field for 20% of snaps. Why? No one knows. Moving forward, I mean, we've got the Giants next week. All we can really look for is better play. I mean, that's really it. We're on a week-to-week basis. We're on a week-to-week, need to see improvement, need to see better in that 4-quarter snapshot, just in that game, because long-term, Dennis and Peter gone. If these performances right here is like a victory, if these performances are successful, if this is the best Dennis and Pete have, I mean, it isn't going to work. So the good thing is that our season is still there. The good thing is that we still, we still have a shot at the division. All that stuff is still there. So we need to take care of business against the Giants, and then the Rams game. I mean, the Rams are playing good, and we got to go on the road. And then Tampa Bay all of a sudden is winning the division. So then going on the road to Tampa, all of a sudden that's the must-win game. We were kind of focusing on the Falcons game, and now it's like the Tampa game is the game where you got to make it happen. So, up and down, kind of a weird game with just how bad the Saints were, but then a very misleading final. So let me know in the comments below. I mean, where do you come down on this? Do you think should we be just solely concerned about the result? Should we just throw the rest out the window because it's so disjointed? Or should it be the opposite? Should we throw the result out the window and just take a look at, like, what in the world are we doing here? What's happening? So sound off in the comments, kind of let me know where you come down on this, because I just, it's bad. I mean, this is unwatchable. This is bad. 5 weeks. 5 weeks. Let's look at the schedule. When you look at Chicago, Minnesota, bye week, Atlanta, Detroit, and then this. So Chicago, Minnesota, bye week, Atlanta, Detroit. So this is the 6th week. 6 weeks of bad performances. 6. And this is what we come out with at home. I mean, look at Carr. Look at these numbers. 103, 127, 183, 119, 226, 122 for Winston. Obviously, Carr got hurt. You look at the running. 56, 59, 69. A.T. Perry was our leading receiver. He had 1 catch. How wild is that? A.T. Perry is the leading receiver, and he had 1 catch. Yeesh. Let me know in the comments below what you think, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be talking about this game all week long. We'll be pumping out content, multiple videos a day, multiple shorts a day. No one's doing what we're doing. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.